Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless.
One of the things that I'm starting to see is that people make more demands than they make decisions. Right? And I want you to know that there's a ratio that has to happen, right? And I mean this. There are people who come to me all the time, like, okay, E, I want you to pay me this much. You know, I want to fly first class. You know, it's a lot of stuff. And none of the stuff that people say to me do I think is off the wall. Like, I agree with you. But you're asking another human to do something for you that you should be doing for yourself. So, I want y'all to hear this, please. Nothing wrong with making demands. But if you are not making the decisions, then you have to pull back on some of the demands. Like, for real, stop asking for a certain lifestyle if you're not in control of your life. If you're leaving the responsibility of your life to someone else, which isn't always a bad idea, you know. I let C make most of the decisions because he's a bit better decision maker in a lot of the things that pertain to this company. But if he has to make the decisions, I don't get to make the demands. All right, I want to make sure that's clear. So as humans, we love to say this, we should, like, how much you making, C? Well, why you making that much and I'm not making that much? Because you're not making the decisions. You're not taking the risk. You're not making the sacrifices. The money, here's what, LaShawn and I had a talk yesterday, and I was like, and we probably should get into this because I think this is important, but while I'm in paradise, there are just certain things I'm not going to entertain when I'm in paradise. Does that make sense? Doesn't mean it's not important, it's not an emergency, but it just means when I wake up in Lansing tomorrow, I'm not going to have this water. Does that make sense? So when I get to Lansing, I can deal with Lansing stuff. I can deal with Lansing what? But when I'm here in paradise, I need to be dealing with what? Paradise stuff. No, come on, hear what I'm saying. There are those of you who have paid people to be responsible, but you still got your hand in the responsibility. Like, you need to stop paying people, or you need to stop asking people to do stuff if you're gonna have to do it and they doing it. Does that make sense? So like, if you paying somebody to do something, but you still gotta do it, you either have a control issue or you hired the wrong person. And you need to figure out which one it is. Because if you pay somebody to do something, they should do what you paid them to do. So when I heard about the situation, I was just like, oh, you call Shelly. That's who you need to call. Like, that's not my responsibility. C always says, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Does that make sense? Come on, I want to free somebody. Does that make sense? And let me tell y'all something. Man, I got hit with the okie doke. All right. So how many of y'all was at Game Changers? Anybody was at Game Changers? All right. So if you was at Game Changers, all right, and you heard this before, like C always say, pretend like you didn't hear. So we get to Game Changers, and these are very talented people, right? So I walk in, I'm thinking about, what do I need to say to these talented people? So I was like, I got it. I will give anybody that can come up here and juggle these 6 balls, I give you $1,000 out my pocket like I'm Maul. So you know they geek, $1,000. I'm like, who wanted $1,000? All right. I was like, all right, come on, let's go. $1,000. 2 volunteers came up. I was like, all right, I give you $1,000 if you can juggle 6 of these balls. They were looking crazy, balls everywhere. I was like, all right, that's too much. $1,000 for 5. All right, too much. $1,000 for 4. Too much. $1,000 for 3. Raise your hand if you think that they were able, there's a couple that they was able to at least do 3. So what am I saying? I'm saying I told them, it's not that you can't juggle, you just can't juggle 6 things. So when I was here, I was like, yo, I refuse to juggle more than the schedule that they gave me and the time with Dee Dee. But y'all know how life is. Somebody called me like, hey, there was a professional athlete that died on a horrific, accident not too long ago. And somebody hit me up, was like, yo, my daughter was their wife that I'm close to. Can you call? See, you know I was struggling, see? I was struggling. But all I heard God say was, that's not what you agreed to do when you came here. You didn't agree to be on the phone, counseling, walking nobody through. And I'm not trying to be cruel, but when you get home, the situation will be the exact same as it is right now, and you could call when you get home. Does that make sense? But that's something that, here's what I want you to write down real quick. Write down, what is that ball that's constantly distracting you? What's that ball that's constantly distracting you? All right, and what decisions do you need to make so that when you get home, that ball that you know you're not supposed to be juggling, that it no longer distracts you. So we're gonna get into it, but I want you to hear what I'm saying. And I'm not being cruel, because I'm the type of person that when you give me your demands, I'm going to try as much as I can to meet your demands. But nobody owes you to meet your demands. If you want your demands met, you have to, 3 things. Number 1, become a better decision maker. Number 2, you got to be willing to take the risk, which means I'm going to put the money up so if something happens, you don't have to worry about coming out your pocket. And then the final one is there's a specific sacrifice you're going to have to make. If you're willing to do all 3. Now, when I'm working with football programs or basketball programs, I explain to them that team that you're playing against, they are also professionals. They're also 1%ers. The only thing that's going to separate you from them is you're going to have to make better decisions with the ball in your hand. You're going to have to make better decisions on defense. You're going to have to take calculated risk, and you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Oh, what you mean by that? During the playoffs, LeBron cuts off his social media. There are going to be some things that you can do because you got the money to do and you have the freedom to do that you're going to have to stop doing. Why? Because everybody else is drinking during the playoffs. Everybody else is smoking during the playoffs. A lot of other guys are running around. A lot of people partying. A lot of people staying up late. So if you would just make these small adjustments from a playoff start in the NFL December, January, so shoot, we just talking about January and February. We talk about a month and a half. All you got to do is do those 3 things. How many of y'all believe that 80% or 90% of them make those 3 adjustments? Raise your hands. Yep. How many of you feel like they don't? Raise your hand. Okay, let me ask it like this. How many of you believe that what I asked them to do is doable? Raise your hand. I'm giving you 3 things on this podcast that will alter your life forever. If you want to be wealthy, your first job is what? Don't get that twisted. Some of y'all heard it and you didn't catch it. Whatever you're doing, the thing that you do first and you must master is decision making. Because if you're not a good decision maker, nothing else matters. And I told y'all this, I want you to be free. So now you are a slave to you. Meaning you are a slave to the decisions you make, to the point that you don't even know you're making them, but you're getting outcomes from them. Does that make sense? Like your outcomes are based on the decisions you make. So please, before we go to the second one, I need you to hear this. Your number 1 job as a human is to make. So then you need to go to school you need to pray, you need to be in a community with people who understand how important decisions are. I just want to make sure I want to make sure you hear what I'm saying. So for those of you who are married and you don't feel like you're experiencing marital bliss, you're not making marital bliss decisions. Like, it ain't nothing wrong with your marriage. It ain't nothing wrong. Somebody hit me the other day. She just ain't who I thought she. I said, what? How we get there? He was like, she ain't the person that I fell in love with. I was like, what is she? That don't make sense. I said, she is the same person. The problem is now y'all married, y'all living together. Y'all got kids, you have responsibilities. So you're making decisions that you didn't have to make when you got to go back to your room and she got to go back to where she lived. Now y'all making decisions together that are affecting you in a way you're not at. So I just want to make sure y'all clear. Go home and get a 4-year degree in decision making. Go get a master's in decision making. Go get a PhD in decision making. Because anything else you do is going to go smooth. But if you're not a good decision maker, does that make sense? You're certain. Now, the reason why I told Carl you need to be a good decision maker, because he's a grounds crew. So if anybody knows anything about a grounds crew at the airport, where is the grounds crew at the airport? Where do you see a grounds crew at the airport? Say it again. Where on the ground? You say on the ground. I've seen them on the plane before. It's good. Where? Good. Where? One more time. Where? They're the only ones that are everywhere. A flight attendant is where? On the plane. You don't interact with me until you pay your ticket. You don't even interact with the pilot. You know what I'm saying? They go in, shut the door. Air traffic control, you probably have never seen them a day in your life. You deal with the grounds crew every day. They everywhere. So I was like, Carl, there's no way you're not gonna be able to be a good decision maker. You everywhere in the company. You touch everything. You need to be sweeter than CJ because you touch everything. Now watch this. Show you how important decision making is. 90% of the people that want to deal with us, of this group, when you talk business, who do they go to? They don't go to me. Who? They definitely don't go to CJ. Now it would be good if they went to CJ. They definitely don't go to CJ. They go to who? And why do they go to Carl? And why do they go to Carl? He's a listener, one, he ground crew. And then they feel like they have the best chance to do whatever they trying to do. They don't feel, they ain't about to try to come to CJ where he said 50-50. They trying to come to Carl to see if they can 80-20 us. Am I being real, Carl? They going to Carl. So I want to show you why we all need to be great decision makers. Because there are certain people Carl meet. We never even meet these people until Carl introduced them to us. We don't even know who they are. They come to Carl with these great ideas. Don't nobody come to see they with their ideas. If you come to see, you stupid. You gotta know that if you come to see with an idea, 90% of those about to get waxed. Boom. They in the air, them jokers getting shot down. You're not even gonna get to them. And we respect that. Why? Because so I just want y'all to see. Some of y'all, you hear us, but you're not listening. You're like, oh yeah, decision maker. I need to be a better decision maker. No, you don't. Decision making is the lifeblood of business. It is the lifeblood of your relationship. Why can't you stand your spouse sometime? Because of a decision they made that you didn't feel was in your best interest, or they did something to you that you didn't particularly care for. So they weren't thinking about you when they did it. They were thinking about themselves. Does that make sense? Anybody who's blissful, they on some mutual stuff. They like, I could say that, but where that's gonna lead to, I'm not gonna say that. An immature decision maker will do things that they feel in the moment that will cost them later. So I was just with somebody today and we were talking about, whatever. And I said, bro, here's how you gotta see it. Is that decision that you made going to add to the life you have, or is it gonna take away from the life you have? And if you're gonna build with this hand and tear down with this hand, that's not a good decision. Does that make sense? So we're gonna become masters of our, come on, we're gonna become masters of our, okay, some of y'all didn't go to Baptist church. I'm gonna need a Baptist church in you. We need to become masters of our, nothing is more important than our, nothing in our day is as important as the, that we make. Is that clear?